and the whole arena, like, people, it's such a powerful aura that some of the weaker demons in the audience explode when he starts powering up, which that's gonna happen more in the finals. By the end of the finals in the show, I think there was, like, 10% of the audience left alive, if that. Everybody died. But yeah, Bui is so strong that it vaporizes a lot of demons on contact, and Hiei can't get close to him. He can't get, like, he would burn up in the atmosphere of Bui's attack, so to speak, if he got close enough to him. So, I don't remember what the exact progression of attacks was. Again, it's been a while. I haven't watched the show in a bit. But the end result was that Bui is so powerful that Hiei, unlike the Kuro Momotaro fight, has no choice but to summon the Dragon of the Darkness Flame. And so results a very funny little match. Bui is still pretty powerful, and he fights with Demon Aura as well. So it's Demon Aura versus Demon Aura. It's the funniest looking climactic fight where he's controlled the dragon by this time, and so now when he summons it, he's not just summoning it and letting it use his body, he becomes one with it. So if you can imagine this little dwarf inside this giant purple energy dragon, flying up and around, and the dragon in its mouth has, Bui. I think this is where I beat the match, so I gotta finish it up. The dragon has Bui in its mouth, this giant, with this giant green aura around him, and it's just circling the arena, like killing people in the audience, and swirling up into the sky, breaking out part of the stadium, completely annihilating most everything. With Bui in its mouth, just like shaking him like a dog and a toy. It was a strange thing to watch. And eventually he does beat Bui this way. I think Bui breaks up the dragon, but I forgot exactly. Somebody in the comments is gonna have to tell me exactly what happened, because I don't think the dragon alone beats Bui. But he survives, probably to fight another day and learn his lesson. So Elder Toguro is one of the creepiest fucking characters I have ever seen in any show, ever. I know Yu Yu Hakusho is for teens and stuff, it's not one of the more hardcore, and you could think, oh, you've seen Berserk, and what about Gantz, or why don't you watch Shigarui, blah blah blah. More horror-themed anime, and which probably Gantz and Shigarui weren't the best examples, but people can tell me, I'm sure, all sorts of horrifying creatures that they've seen, and no, nothing really compares for me like Elder Toguro, because nothing can kill Elder Toguro. So, first off, what happens here is Toguro tells, Kuwabara had not been informed of Genkai's death, which I'll get more into that in the final round. I won't talk about Genkai's death in this Let's Play, I'll talk about it in the final match. And, so, yeah, it's... Toguro, being an asshole, tells Kuwabara about Genkai's death, because all his teammates have been hiding it from him because they didn't want him to get upset or whatever, and they just kind of couldn't... Well, the others were trying to spare his feelings. Yusuke, ironically, wasn't really trying to spare Kuwabara's feelings. I think he knew that he could handle it. But he didn't tell Kuwabara because he was kind of in denial over it himself. It's like, if you don't say it, it's not real, He was sort of recovering from it. And so he couldn't tell Kuwabara because he couldn't really deal with it himself at that time. Yu Yu Hakusho can be complex and deep when it wants to be. But yeah, speaking of which, Elder Toguro is kind of sick and nasty, and so he tells the story of Genkai's death in detail, using, like... He warps parts of his body into, like, an effigy of Genkai and stabs it, and he's creepy. So Toguro's power is basically that he's invincible. As you saw in that brief opening video thing, his brain and heart are kind of the only susceptible parts of him. And he can move those around to any old part of his body that he wants. Just kind of swish him around. There's not really any way to kill him. You punch him in the face, you punch him in the gut, he'll just move his organs around. And he can stretch out his fingers, and basically he's just sort of a pile of human disaster. It's really gross, and you'd think if he were this invincible he'd take better care of his hair. He's really greasy looking, isn't he? So I'm going to talk about what I'm doing in the game here for a minute before I beat the match. Right here there's a cut, right after I was beaten here. I faced him many more times, there were a lot more fights, but I cut all that nonsense out because I don't want to bore you guys. It took a while. But basically what I learned in that time, as you can see in the first match, I was trying to beat him with the sword. Why? Because think about it logically. As you can see, I have to hit the little glowing spot there, which, by the way, did you notice where that started at the beginning of the match? It started in his crotch. Like, not his feet, where it is now. He was crouching, so it started in his crotch. And I started, like, humming, you know, danger, danger, high voltage. Ugh. Anyway, so that's a horrible way to start a match. Anyway, so I thought if I have the sword out and I'm fighting him with the sword, even though it's not quite as fast as his punches, the sword covers more ground. So I was like, I can hit the spot no matter where it is. I just slash down through his entire body, and if it's in his head, feet, or belly, I can get it, right? That didn't work. So that's why I skipped ahead to where I was like, fuck it, not using the sword anymore. The sword wasn't effective. Basically, because it was so slow, and because, honestly, it didn't hit the spot every time I tried to slash around wildly, I just got comboed out of existence. And if I back up at all, you can see that he does that finger stretchy thing, which if you were any other character, you could dodge pretty easily, but Kuwabara is slow as snot, and even when he's strafing, he's not that fast. Like, I strafe as fast as I can, and he still hits me with that stupid finger thing. So, I probably could have used Power of Love at some points, but seeing I wasn't using Spirit Attacks all that much, I was fine with it. So look, see, he's doing the finger thing right now, and I'm blocking against it, but it's still not all that effective. Anyhow, what else do I talk about here? So, yeah, my strategy here was just punch, 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 and see if I can beat him that way. And it basically worked. It just took a long time. But it was better than the sword. The sword didn't work. I tried every once in a while, this was kind of cool, if he was attacking and I was at a distance and I dodged it correctly, I could use the shrapnel sword, and that took off a lot of his health. But it didn't work all the time, so couldn't rely on that. Anyway, so let's talk about the show, because a lot happens here in the story of the show. That's cool. See, I blocked that from behind. How does that even work? Anyway, so I'm going to ignore the glowing mirror ball in Elder Togoro's crotch. Gosh, did they try to make him even creepier, just putting that there? Ah, oof. Anyway, so Kuwabara is very upset that his friends didn't tell him about Genkai's death, and Elder Toguro is just sort of like happy over it. He's like, you know, she died so embarrassingly, blah, ha 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 ha, you know, and now you're going to die. I don't think there's any explanation for Elder Toguro as to why he is the way he is. He's just pure evil. He's the foulest character in this show. Again, I told him he's really gross. He's like human silly pity. He's just disgusting. With greasy hair. And his voice is pretty creepy. So, eventually, what Kuwabara decides to do, the match doesn't last that long. You think, wow, he's invincible, and Kuwabara is the weakest fighter on the team against, you know, not the most powerful. Certainly his younger brother is stronger than he is, but, you know, the most unkillable. And, well, he beats younger Toguro in a very embarrassing way. Well, first, of course, he, you know, slices him into pieces, and that doesn't work. He just reforms himself. Like, he slices him into a bunch of pieces, and they start the 10 count, and she's like, why are you counting? He's dead. But they go ahead and do the 10 count, and as it turns out, and that was an unfortunate thing for them to have to do, because, yes, he reforms himself in about 10 seconds and gets back up. Finally got him. So now he's dead. But yeah, so what Kuwabara does is he forms his spirit sword into a fly swatter. That's what he calls it. He says spirit fly swatter. And it's a big matrix. It's a big round thing of energy with a bunch of matrices of lasers. And he amplifies it so much so that it would cut down younger Toguro to the molecules. And he smacks him with it, and we don't really see what happens to him after that. But we kind of assume that younger Toguro got dissipated down to like individual cells. So they go ahead and call the match Kuwabara wins. But yeah. So sorry, I've officially run out of Let's Play. But those who have seen the show can tell you that Elder Toguro was not dead. But for the purposes of that match, Kuwabara did beat him. And I think it would have been hard to say that Kuwabara murdered anybody, so that was another part of it. At least he wasn't dead all the way. Despite being a complete monster, probably deserved it. I keep going. I gotta shut up now, before we hit the 25-minute mark, and, yeah, I probably missed talking about some stuff in there, but this was certainly a long Let's Play, and, it's gonna be even longer when we get to the final match, in which I will talk about as much as I can, because that's kind of where the show culminates, and also, it's gonna be really hard to beat, so yeah. Anyway, sayonara, bye-bye.